Huddle Up Podcast. As I am recording this, it is Tuesday, March the 17th, 2026. I hope you are doing well and enjoying the offseason. I am enjoying the time away. This is your host, Big Jim, and this is the Observations with Big Jim, number 36 of this separate feed from our main grouping, main circus of characters. But I hope you're doing well. We will likely be getting back together sometime in the next month or so to get some off-season content as we near the NFL draft and go into the summer months before we get back in August to our weekly shows. But you can follow along with the show at all times at Huddle Up Podcast on Facebook, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Twitter. You can get us Huddle Up Inc. on Twitch. You can get us on Instagram, Huddle Up Podcast Inc. Just hit the link tree in all of your social media. Grab your merch over in the TeePublic store. You can also get us on YouTube at Huddle Up Podcast as well. So would certainly appreciate the love and support over there. And again, share the show with anyone you think may enjoy it as well. So just a few things that have been on my mind as of late, and I will dive into them now. As I'm recording this, it is the day after Notre Dame legend Lou Holtz was laid to rest. Lou passed away on March the 4th at the age of 89. Among many coaching accomplishments, as well as respect and adoration across the world of sports, in TV and media, in football and beyond. He amassed a record of 132-2 in 11 seasons at Notre Dame. He was my first Notre Dame head coach. He coached them to a national championship in 1988. In the 1988 season, unfortunately, I was much too young to watch, love, and appreciate that. But Lou Holtz, an absolute legend, passes away. And it's, as a Notre Dame fan, I feel like it's a complicated and heavy moment, because he has kind of been this mainstay as the coach, the last coach to win a national championship. Just a legendary mindset, changed the trajectory of the program when he came in after Jerry Faust, and was kind of set to become the winningest head coach in Notre Dame history, and was kind of forced out because the powers that be at the time didn't want Knute Rockne's record to be broken. And I know there's Notre Dame fans that feel like there is a curse on the program because they forced Lou out. Given that they haven't won a national championship since 1988, maybe there is some truth to that. But and listening to the stories and reading articles and things from past players and coaches and administrators and media members and people across the sports world that worked and knew him, it has been a bit emotional for me to reflect on him. Now, granted, I was 10, 11 years old when he exited the program, so I don't have a huge framework. I mean, I remember the 1993 season, the big win over Florida State, the crushing loss the following week to Boston College. I remember the last couple of years where it was a couple of bowl losses and, above average seasons. But my Notre Dame memory bank is filled more with the Bob Davie, Ty Willingham, and Charlie Weiss, Brian Kelly, and now current era with Marcus Freeman. but Lou, an absolute legend. But there's also I can't, because of who I am, I can't gloss over there's a complicated legacy with Lou Holtz, because as with everything, the world is very political. And he aligned with somebody that I am not a fan of. So while I love and appreciate the lessons and the history and everything to the college football program that I love, there's a side of me that was very disappointed in the man in the later portion of his life. But Coach, rest in peace. And thank you for what you did for Notre Dame football, and even in some ways guiding the current program. So thank you, Coach. Rest in peace. Staying in the football world, the Dallas Cowboys are quietly doing really, really well in the offseason. Now, if you listen to when it comes out, the Earnestly Speaking podcast with student of the game Kyle Nash and myself, we had begun recording an episode, and then last night, Monday night, I lost power at about 10 p.m. So there's a portion of the episode where I'm talking, and then I'll no longer be talking. But I talked about this a little bit with them. We touched on free agency a little bit, and I am pleasantly surprised with what the Cowboys have done so far, and in a way what they haven't done. They re-signed Javonte Williams and Sam Williams. They have signed Jalen Thompson, PJ Locke, and Sam Howell. Yes, Sam Howell as a backup, probably third-string quarterback. Otito Ogbonnia, a defensive tackle as well. They traded a fourth-round pick in 2027 for defensive end Rashawn Gary. And this is probably above any of the signings or trades that they've made. The fact they were in the Max Crosby sweepstake, the original one, when he went to Baltimore before he didn't end up in Baltimore. But they didn't overspend. Apparently the Cowboys said they would give up a first-round pick and a second-round pick. The asking price got higher, and the Cowboys didn't budge. And I cannot believe these words are going to come out of my mouth, but kudos and credit to Jerry/Stephen Jones, ? For actually doing the right thing and standing your ground and saying, no, this is all the more we want to give up. And then, of course, the whole thing with Baltimore dissolved. The Ravens turned heel on the football world. And as more comes out, it seems that it was even sleazier than originally reported. Max Crosby sticking with the Raiders. But the Cowboys are addressing needs. They're keeping Javonte Williams in-house. They're adding pieces to defensive secondary, defensive line. I think the next big and critical thing pre- or post-draft is going to be, can they come to terms with kicker Brandon Aubrey? Reportedly, the Cowboys want to offer about $5 or $6 million. Aubrey's camp wants 10. Hopefully, they'll be able to find some middle ground. I don't think that there should be a $10 million kicker yet, but little by little, the Cowboys did say this offseason is going to be different. I didn't believe it so far, though. Maybe a little bit different than normal, but still plenty of time to screw that up. But we will see what happens the rest of the way. The Washington Capitals, my Washington Capitals, are done. And I can comfortably kind of say that right now. That they are not going to be a playoff team. They're not. They are currently 33, 27, and 8, which is good for 6th place in the wild card hunt. They are 8 points behind Detroit, who currently holds the number 2 wild card position, and that is with 14 games to go. I believe it. Yeah, 14 games to go. That's almost an insurmountable comeback to make. They currently have coming up this week games against the Senators, Devils, and Avalanche, rounding out this weekend. The Capitals are basically in a position where of their remaining 14, they probably need to win 12 or more. So it's basically over. At the trade deadline, they traded locker room leaders Nick Dowd and John Carlson, mostly for draft picks. And look, I know Washington Capitals fans were very upset by 2 absolutely beloved players being dealt. And look, it's not that I'm not upset by it, but this team wasn't good with those guys on the roster. And the bottom line is they're an aged team. Dowd and Carlson are 2 of their most aged players. And these deals made sense. They made sense. Sometimes the business of sports hurts. But if you can separate feeling from need, or feeling and your love of certain players and your team from what your team and franchise actually needs, these deals were good. Now, granted, they still have to execute the picks very well, but Dowd and Carlson could have left at the end of this year, and you would have gotten nothing in return. So you have the potential to build on these pieces that you got for Nick Dowd to Vegas, John Carlson to the Ducks. Now, I will say this, John Carlson, 17 years in the organization, won Calder Cups in Hershey, a Stanley Cup in Washington. Seeing him in a Ducks uniform is very, very strange. It is very, very strange. But it's another lost year. This is now 8 seasons post Stanley Cup. 8 years where they have not won another one, have not competed for another one, have not even been back to the Eastern Conference Finals. So as much as I will always cherish, and as I'm saying these words, I am staring at the 2018 Stanley Cup playoff MVP towel, the Ovechkin towel, the replica Stanley Cup engraving framed image of all the player names on the cup, locker room hat, locker room T-shirt that are hanging on the wall of the studio here. I will never trade that springtime, that season, that team for anything. As an adult, it is the only major sports championship I have ever experienced as a fan. I will never trade what the 2018 Washington Capitals were. With every passing year, man, it feels like it has been 100 years. No offense to Cubs fans. Has been 100 years since the Capitals won. And so now the question is this. What will Alex Ovechkin's future be? Speaking of that 2018 MVP. His current contract ends this year. As it stands right now, Alex Ovechkin has 14 games, barring injury, guaranteed left in the NHL and with the Washington Capitals. He will turn 41 this summer. There are now just 2 players from the 2018 Stanley Cup champions still on the Washington Capitals roster. Alex Ovechkin and Tom Wilson. And the biggest question now for Capitals fans is, will Ovechkin come back? Is it worth it to come back? I do not personally believe. Now, I can be wrong. I've been proven wrong a couple of times in my life. I truly do not believe Alex Ovechkin will play in the NHL for any other team but the Washington Capitals. But he has been very public that before he eventually retires for good, he does want to play in Russia again for the team he started with. So all eyes are going to point to Alex Ovechkin over the next 14 games. And then over the months and weeks that follow the next 14 games. And I know he has looked older. He has looked slower than the energetic guy who would leap 10 feet into the glass after scoring a goal. But as somebody who has watched the entire career of the greatest goal scorer of all time and watched him be the guy to finally raise the Stanley Cup for my Washington Capitals, I selfishly want him back for one more year, and that we know it's his final year. Now, I will be watching the remaining 14 games of the Washington Capitals season this year, a lost season in a way, but I'll be watching all 14 of them, knowing that these could be the last 14 times I get to watch the greatest goal scorer of all time, Alexander Ovechkin, in the red, white, and blue. I hope he comes back. Staying in hockey for a minute, the question also, because of the plight of the Washington Capitals, is to Stanley Cup or not Stanley Cup. It's been a weird year. It's been a very weird season. Both in sports, mentally where I'm at as a sports fan. More on that in a second. More on that later. I have not watched nearly as much hockey as I normally do. The situation and the tone and the rhetoric around the U.S. men's Olympic hockey team has not helped my passion or lack thereof for the NHL and the NHL season, and go as we head into the NHL postseason in just a couple of weeks. It'll get underway. So I truly don't know how much of the Stanley Cup playoffs I will watch this year. And for those that know me, I used to watch almost every single game, every single night. I would have the games on at 6:30 or 7 when they started. I would switch back and forth. I would have multiple TVs going. I would have the late night games from the West Coast on when I went to bed. And I just don't feel that passion anymore. Again, more on that in a minute. Current playoff teams or teams in the hunt that I would root for in the East, there's 2 of them, Sabres and Canadiens. That's it. Everybody else, don't care. Do not care. Absolutely not. Bruins, no, absolutely not. Lightning, nope. Hurricanes, no. Penguins, absolutely not. Islanders, get wrecked. Detroit, I'm a little bit indifferent. Western Conference, Wild, Minnesota Wild, Anaheim Ducks, Edmonton Oilers, Utah Mammoth, Seattle Kraken. So there's definitely more in the West. Basically, the only teams, I'd be fine with the Avalanche as well. They've had some success. They'd probably be lower on my list. The only team in the West, the only teams in the West that I currently do not want to win would be the Golden Knights. Vegas, they have turned out to be a pretty scumbag franchise, or the Dallas Stars. Now, I would take either of those, Vegas or Dallas, over any of the teams that I told to get wrecked in the East. Honestly, I should try to make more of an effort to watch the PWHL, the Professional Women's Hockey League, as well as like the AHL, ECHL. Support other hockey that as the season winds down. That is what I should devote maybe more energy than I have on the NHL. Switching gears a little bit, closing in on opening day, Major League Baseball. A week from today, March 25th, or a week from tomorrow, excuse me, March 25th. Looking forward to baseball. World Baseball Classic ended tonight prior to me hitting the record button. Congratulations to Venezuela for being your World Baseball Classic champions this year. Didn't watch a ton of it. Again, kind of political things and just not feeling the vibe of the World Baseball Classic and the energy of Team USA. So I didn't really tune into a whole lot, but I watched the tail end of the championship game tonight. Again, congratulations to Venezuela. Looking at my kind of two teams in baseball, my Baltimore Orioles, they have retooled a bit. I think there is some potential from improvement on a year ago. But going into the year, I'm kind of well aware of the fact I don't think they have what it takes to win the World Series or even get there. I had high expectations last year, and the bubble got burst. So I think I'm setting my expectations and things a little bit more based in reality as we go into this season. The Philadelphia Phillies, though, I think are a team to watch. I think they once again have a tremendous lineup. And if their pitching and rotation can hold up, I do believe that they could be something special. I know some Phillies fans don't agree. That's fine. That's typical. And I also still think they did the right thing by bringing back Rob Thompson. Topper, I think, is the best manager for this team right now. And at least with this core, you got to give it a chance. Last thing before I close it out here, I mentioned a little bit earlier about like just not being as invested in hockey and in baseball, in the World Baseball Classic, or even in the Olympics this year. I did not watch nearly as much, which has kind of brought a question into my brain a bit of, is my passion for sports waning? Now, will have sat, and for those that are fans of the show here, we sit and we talk and we debate and discuss football for 3.5 months. I guess 4.5 months, 5.5 months, whatever it is, almost half the year. By the time it shakes out preseason to end of season, on a weekly basis, and I get passionate about it, and I get heated about certain things. But this year, I've kind of felt a shift, and I don't know if it's just things in my life outside of being a sports fan have impacted my sports fandom, or if my actual sports fandom is waning. The last few years have felt different for me. When I start to weigh, is the investment worth, like, is the return on investment what I put into it? Am I getting back the level of play and performance and result? Am I getting back what I'm putting into it as a fan with my passion and my money? And over the last couple of years, it's starting to become evident to me, and that it's not. I'm not getting the return on investment. And I have found myself, like, once the game is quote unquote over, when it's beyond a certain point, I turn them off. If I know my team is not going to win, I regularly turn it off and don't watch till the end of the games. I don't watch a lot of games outside of my favorite teams. I don't necessarily watch. Now, football's a little different because there's less games, but I don't watch every Orioles game or Phillies game or Capitals game. Playoffs? I watched very little of the NFL playoffs. I didn't watch any of the college football invitational this year. I don't know how much of the Stanley Cup playoffs I'm going to absorb. I just don't feel as connected to my team or the sports, probably with the exception of Notre Dame. Now, is that because they've had more successful seasons the last couple of years than the Cowboys or Capitals or Orioles or Phillies? Maybe. And I get that's like a lame answer, a cop-out answer, but you are invested more when it's good. If your favorite band released a new album every year, but the music wasn't as good, would you still be as invested? If a TV show that you loved started producing worse episodes, would you keep watching? Why are sports different? And for me to ask that question is a lot. Seeing one championship, major sports championship, since I was 10. I'm 40. I'll be 41 this summer. 31 years I've seen one. Again, those 2018 Washington Capitals. That's it. It's taken a toll on my fandom. I'm not going to lie. Do I still love the Cowboys and the Orioles and the Phillies and the Capitals and Notre Dame? Absolutely. Absolutely still love them. But my ability to separate the game from reality and the game from what really matters is happening more than it ever did before. Because truly it is a game. And it truly is just entertainment. And I fail at times. I don't know if my wife will listen to this, but she'll probably laugh at what I just said about how I realize it's just a game. Because there was a few times this year where I got very angry at Notre Dame games. But I think I'm much better than I was 5 to 10 years ago. Maybe I'm older. Well, I am older. Maybe I'm wiser. Or maybe I just am starting to realize and recognize that what happens in these games has no impact on my life. Maybe it'll change. Maybe it'll change. If my teams get better, maybe I'll be more passionate about it. But there's been a wild realization over the past, couple of weeks, couple of years that maybe I'm not the same type of sports fan that I always was. Are you? Let us know. At Huddle Up Podcast on social media. You can get the link tree in the episode description here. Follow us on YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow on and subscribe on all podcast platforms. We'd love to hear from you. Buy our merch as well. TeePublic Store. Interact with us on social media. If you have off-season topic ideas you'd love to hear from us, please let us know. Look for our social media for announcements on when some off-season content will be coming out. But until then, I do hope you are well. We will see you soon. Stay safe, stay smart, and as always, go for the win.